Fear, a universal constant that plays a significant role in the existence of not only human beings, but animals as well. Such a simple concept, one that can be amplified or negated depending on the circumstances surrounding terrific events, and can even be controlled, resulting in the coin toss of survival, fight or flight. And yet, we let it control us. It's fascinating what the human brain can do, specifically how it can be either our greatest companion or our worst nemesis, betraying us when we need it the most. Fear plays an important role through a multitude of different happenstances. Understanding what is in front of you, comprehending real danger, the rattle of a deadly snake nearby, or the hulking mass of a grizzly coming at you full speed, will push your brain into the most basic of survival instincts. But what about something in front of you that you don't understand, that you cannot comprehend? A psychological, existential, almost Lovecraftian type of horror purely laying before your eyes, and yet your brain struggles to understand. This is the horror of Pigpen, a manhwa written and created by Karnby Kim, the author of two other successful thriller horror webtoons that you may already be familiar with, Sweet Home and Bastard. But before I talk about the technical aspects of this manhwa, let me give a general layout of the basic narrative in order to establish a starting point for those who have not read this piece. Pigpen starts off with a young man washing up on a shore, the remnants of some kind of structure floating behind him, as his inner dialogue informs us that he doesn't know who he is or why he is in a place such as this. He cannot see any other land close by, noticing a red mailbox on the shore and unconsciously setting it as a marker as he walks the shoreline of what he quickly finds out to be an island, reaching the red mailbox once again. Our unnamed protagonist decides to make his way inland, struggling against the rugged force of nature. A thunderstorm hits the island, causing him to find an unfortunately dead cell phone on him. Then, a flash of lightning illuminates a large house off in the distance, and we zoom out to a full view of the island as one incredibly large and purple lightning bolt strikes, finishing out the prologue of this tale. The next chapter follows our protagonist dreaming what seems to be a small fragment of a memory, only to wake up in what he thinks is the house he saw before. Exiting his room, he sees a woman at the end of the hall cleaning up what looks like blood. As the remainder of this chapter draws on, along with the next few chapters, it becomes increasingly evident that this place and the people within it are not what they seem. They purposefully avoid answering questions that our protagonist asks about the nature of the island and how to get off it. It quickly becomes a survival story as our lead does his very best to learn about how to escape, and takes what he needs in order to defend himself, as he fears that his hosts may very well be murderers. A game of cat and mouse ensues as he continuously attempts to avoid the imposing danger, and more is found out not only about his supposed captors, but also himself. I don't wish to say more than this at the current moment, for if I did, I would be spoiling quite a bit, and I have more I wish to talk about before I dive deeper into the later content of this story. Pigpen dropped in the spring of 2015, but I did not discover it until now, where I sit writing this after finishing its 67-chapter run, with each webtoon's chapter being quite a bit shorter than some of its manga counterparts. If I were to attempt to equate one to the other, I would say it is about 3 to 4 webtoons episodes, as the application deems the chapters, to one manga chapter. However, the way the webtoons are formatted, that being of a linear nature in which you scroll through each individual panel, gives the illusion of consuming something much larger, and also quite successfully drags the reader back down into the enveloping chasm of suspense that lie within said manhwa. Verily, the content matter of Pigpen helps push this formula forward quite well. With all great horror mangakas, you find that they have the true ability to pierce your brain and crawl down your spine with some truly breathtaking, and not in a good way unless you like that sort of thing, I don't know, I don't judge, moments of real terror. A lot of the time I find this to be executed extremely well through the use of the page turn, something done by Junji Ito and Kazuo Umes, as well as many other horror mangakas. But those are the main two who come to mind. A truly suspenseful feeling sets in, backed up by a sense of ever-growing dread, to the point where the page turn is the best place to situate such a moment. It's not like it's only been done in works of straight horror either. I've seen other seinen and sometimes even shonen incorporate this technique. Manhwa authors that focus on thriller or horror stories accomplish such feats as well, utilizing their own medium to its full potential. The only thing is, and this is why I so fervently went over the structure of webtoons, is that the vertical positioning of panels causes that page turn to become an impossibility, but easily adaptable. Instead of the page turn, we find ourselves at a place where each panel has the ability to bring with it a shift in mood or tone, to completely change the plot or a character, and the ability to strike horror into our hearts. Carnby does this masterfully through not only being able to showcase the passage of time or the flow of motion, but also by being able to mix their own personal style of the extremely exaggerated and disturbing close-up of the face of an antagonistic presence popping up in a new panel. We might see the shadow of that person behind our protagonist in one panel, only for our protagonist to turn around in the next panel and come face to face with something truly bone-chilling. Webtoons are easy to read and could easily be done in a standard American comic style, where the flow doesn't necessarily need to be artistically crafted in order to accomplish its overarching narrative goal, or even to have well-drawn panels. Yet, Carnby Kim goes above and beyond in really making the vertical formatting something that works for them and for us, rather than the other way around. A chase scene can feel real through the stylistic motion of the action, and that shows true dedication and mastery to this craft, and makes this work such an intense, spiraling behemoth that the gradual descent from pure survival horror no longer feels gradual, as it wrenches me deeper and deeper down into one of the most creatively and well set up psychological thrillers I have been able to be a part of, leaving me with a sense of vertigo as I leave this series wobbling for balance. This story is the opposite of cash grab to scare, and is so much more about the extremely damaging effects of fear, envy, and untreated mental illness. Now, for me to get fully out all that I feel I need to about this series, I'm unfortunately going to have to get heavy into spoiler territory, so if you wish to read the series, then please skip ahead to the further timestamp where I conclude my thoughts about the series. You have now been warned. Let's dive in. About a little over halfway through the series, our unnamed protagonist figures out just exactly how he is supposed to access his phone, something that was taken when first arriving at the house after the son of the household hit him on the back of the head with a shovel. Now given back to him by a young boy that has been roaming the estate, and having obtained the clues needed to learn the passcode for his phone, our tormented protagonist opens his phone to find very little, at least at first. He discovers his name is Jin, and not much else until he opens his Photos app. Seems to have been a normal guy, living a young person's life with friends, a girlfriend, and he seemed happy. That is, until he starts scrolling through more and more, finding photos of the people closest to him murdered in horrendous ways, one of them being a selfie. Jin learns his true nature, that he, like the people on this island, is a serial killer. The morally gray nature of the series is so extreme that the antagonistic force isn't clear, not really, until we reach the end. As Jin struggles with his memory over many chapters, we are given snapshots of things that we don't fully understand the meaning of. Things that have happened but are conveniently placed at certain intervals to make us think the opposite, creating a almost red herring effect. While reading, I became quite confused as to why certain things popped up, only to seem to have no relevance, or to not have anything explained. It felt like so many layers piling on top of one another, so much to figure out while no answers were being provided. I felt just as confused as Jin as to what was going on. But as the series came to a close, I realized that was the point. Where reading something like Naruto gives the reader a feeling of running along with the shinobi, Pigpen drags you through the mud on a ball and chain, and it works. Carnby Kim is able to drop hints and details and further relevant plot points that won't become important until 40 chapters later at the end of the story. What at first glance I thought were plot holes quickly transformed into the missing puzzle pieces that not only I, but Jin was putting together as well. Never did I think an author could make me so incredibly compelled to journey with a psychopathic murderer, yet here I am telling you why you should read this series. The way Jin is written in order to showcase the danger of letting fear control your life and your actions is so gripping, the reason for this being due to the fact that Kim hints at a glint of redemption in Jin's soul. Jin, having been a product of abuse coupled with his extreme mental illness, pushed a boy who only wanted love past his breaking point and led to a path of destruction for himself and all those he came into contact with. And so, without giving the end completely away, I still want to emphasize the point Kim seems to be making, the question that they left us with at the end, and that is, can people change? For the better? Can they rise above what they have been? Or are they doomed to repeat their own individualized cycle of hatred? And we aren't given an answer. It is up for us to decide, the result being a great show of faith in humanity or the total lack of trust in it. Pigpen has so much to offer across the board, from its fairly airtight narrative to its artistic style and flow to the overwhelming, psychologically horrifying and exhausting journey that Kim has implemented. And while I do feel I should give out a fair warning that this piece is not for the faint of heart, that it is very graphic and disturbing, I also feel that you will be missing out greatly on not just an incredibly fun read, but also on a compelling deep dive into the human psyche. And that is why you should read Pigpen. Hello to all that watched, and thank you for tuning in, especially if you made it all the way through to the end. This was a read I stumbled on recently that caught my interest so greatly that I could just not put it down. I finished it quite quickly, and I highly recommend it to any Carnby Kim fans and or fans of horror in general, or anyone looking for something new to read. Please do hit that like button and make sure to subscribe as well. It really does mean a lot and go a long way. My name is Max, and I'll see you on the next one. Peace.